All right, hello and welcome to the CV Brothers podcast. As you might guess, I am not your usual host, our founding member. I am one of the other brothers. But today, I'm going to talk to you about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, hopefully you've heard of that, and it rings some bells. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a show started by Joss Whedon. It's also the name of a movie that was written by Joss Whedon, but the production of which he didn't have as much control over, which is why years later, when he got the opportunity to try it again, he did so on the WB network. It ran for 7 seasons, and it had a spin-off show that ran for 5 seasons, and there were several comics, a few books, and some different variations of games that followed. It's got an amazingly faithful fan base to this day, and they are actually in works to do a revival, which is continuing the original story. But I wanted to talk about doing a reboot. In particular, a reboot in the form of 3 movies based on the mythology of the movie, TV show, and the other materials that came before. Let's talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is basically, if you get the idea of Mean Girls and the plastics, your general trope of the mean, sassy high school girl. The Fashion Club, if you know of Daria, and if you haven't, go watch Daria because it's totally worth your while. But it's the snotty teenage girls, except one of them finds out that she is the chosen one to fight vampires. Cheerleaders who kill vampires, except they're not the sparkly kind of vampires. They're the ones that look really nasty when they reveal their fangs and you stab them in the heart, and then they turn into dust, which is why they've been able to stay hidden for all this time. Now, that's kind of the high level of what it is getting started. A quirky girl who has to take on this serious, dark, scary mantle and the juxtaposition of the two. And that's what we carry on. Also, to note, one of the biggest parts of the show is the Scooby Gang. Not this Scooby Gang, which is amazing in its own right, but a different Scooby Gang, the Slayer's Scooby Gang. And they are made up of the ensemble cast of characters in the show and in the movie to a smaller degree, but in the show for sure. And they make up a huge part of the show. If the show was just about the Slayer, it would not be as popular. It's the characters around Buffy that make Buffy so good. She is a great concept in and of herself, but it wouldn't have carried on and lasted so long without this aspect of it. The outcasts who gather around the fallen cheerleader. This is your Damien and Janice's, your Daria and Jane's, your whatever. They're the ones who make up the Scooby Gang, a crucial part of the team, the men in the chairs, if you will. So, if we start on the actual story, we're going to start the scene across the street from Sunnydale High. And across the street from Sunnydale High, the vampire Lothos is watching indoors and not exposed to the sun, but he's watching particularly for 2 different people. Instead, he sees 3 people, not any of which he's looking for. Alexander Harris, Willow Rosenberg, and Amy the cheerleader. They've all grown up friends, but Amy has joined the cheerleading squad and she's trying her best to be with the popular people. And she has found a way to get the help of their captain, Buffy, who is really doing horrible in school. And Willow is a very smart, very capable student, and so Willow has been badgered into helping Buffy with her homework again by Amy, but also by Xander, who very much wants to spend some time with Buffy and all of her pretty cheerleading friends. And as they come around the corner, they bump into this squad of cheerleaders with Buffy at their head, Cordelia as her lieutenant, her Gretchen Wiener, if you will, and then others like Harmony, and then their boyfriends who are stars on the basketball team. As they come around the corner, klutzy Xander spills the soda all over Cordelia, who freaks out. Buffy yells at him. The Sportos are ready to pound him down until Principal Snyder comes to save the day. Only he comes to save the day for his precious basketball stars and his cheerleaders, and he scolds Xander for causing a problem and gives him detention. In the wake of this, Amy still nudges Willow, says, hey, Buffy needs help with homework, and she agrees to meet up with her and help her with the homework, much to her regret, because she's not too keen on Buffy or all the others and how they treat them. Well, as the day wanes on, Lothos finally sees the 2 people he's looking for, Merrick, the last of the Watchers Council, and Doyle, the Oracle of the Watchers. They're coming in after school departs and slipping into the school library, where Rupert Giles, the librarian, and Jenny Calendar, the school's computer science teacher, are working together, but not working together on grading homework or organizing books. They are secretly part of the Watcher organization, or what is left of them. For the Watchers used to be a much stronger, bigger network with a whole coven of light witches. Now they only have one witch left, the single oracle they have, and only one of the Watchers' council, and one Watcher remaining. It has been whittled down over the past 100 years since stopping the Hellmouth, the portal to the demon world that brought vampires and such into this world. And that is the subject which Merrick comes to talk to Giles and Jenny about. He brings Doyle because, as a oracle, he has seen visions and said that the Hellmouth is bound to open and that problems are about to come. They ask about the Hellmouth, and Giles and Jenny tell them that it is safely dormant, buried several feet beneath the school, and has been for decades. Jenny even casts a spell to check the aura of the Hellmouth, and the Hellmouth is still dormant. There's nothing active about it, nothing opening. They aren't concerned. This doesn't deter Merrick and Doyle from feeling uneasy, and they ask to know of any activity they've had recently, and they admit that they've just recently gotten back from out of town, having taken care of a small coven of vampires that were found. Merrick asks by who they were found, and he is very unpleased to hear that it was none other than Angel that found it and helped them with that coven. Merrick has talked many times in the past of not working with this Angel individual, but they have ignored and continue to do so. He proclaims woes, saying that the Hellmouth will open, dormant or not. The oracles are never wrong in their prophecies. And he also proclaims woes in working with someone like Angel. Upon leaving the high school at nighttime, Merrick and Doyle are caught and captured by Lothos and his coven of vampires, including Amlin and others. They are taken to the building across the street, which isn't their hideout. It actually contains a secret passageway. It goes down underground and then over across under the school where the Hellmouth is. There, Lothos kills Merrick, the last of the Watchers' council, and bleeds him out onto the metal Hellmouth portal, the gateway into the demon dimension. This causes the Hellmouth to stir, but not fully awaken. It is their explicit intent to revive the master vampire, Drusilla. She was a horrible vampire master, old and wise and powerful, with not just the abilities of a vampire, but of one who used to be an oracle like Doyle. She led crusades against the forces of good, including the Slayers and their Watchers. She has been trapped in the Hellmouth for 100 years. It is Lothos' intent to revive her, bring her back to full power. Seeing as the blood of Merrick did not fully open the Hellmouth, they turn to Doyle, the Oracle, and ask him why not and what is needed. Through various forms of persuasion, they're able to get him to tell them that it was just the first step. It unlocked things that have been sealed for a long time. What they need in order to get in is the blood of the Slayer. This is not received very well because, as they all know, that the Slayer line, which used to be when one Slayer was killed, another was born, the power went to another, and it was this mantle that was passed on, the power and the instincts and the senses from one girl to another to keep the forces of darkness at bay. That has been closed for 100 years since the portal was sealed with the Master in it. However, Doyle points to the rumbling Hellmouth, not open but awake, and says that the power will also have found a new vessel. Willow Rosenberg waits Buffy so that they could do homework and she could help her get past the possible failing grade. Buffy has already been late showing up, and Willow waits and tries not to be resentful. Finally, she gets a call from Buffy stating that she's unable to make it, to just pass on Willow's notes and that she'll fix them up and that they'll have a study session next time. Willow can distinctly hear the sounds of laughter and music and general teenage fun going on in the background, and even hears Buffy call her a loser to her friends before she hangs up the phone on the receiver. Lothos goes to the home of Mayor Richard Wilkins III, mayor of Sunnydale. Mayor Wilkins goes into another secret tunnel in his own house, the estate of the founder of the town, Mayor Richard Wilkins I, and goes down underground to a hidden chambers where there are many altars to various dark gods and demons and the occult. Lothos meets in there, reports that the Hellmouth has been awakened but not opened, and relays what Doyle said. Wilkins considers this a win and says that they need to go looking for the next vessel, the next girl who would have inherited the mantle of the Slayer. Buffy wakes the next morning having terrible dreams of dying, of vampire slayers, of walking through dark corridors, of monsters, and of other sort of things. Instead of waking from an unpleasant dream to a pleasant morning, she wakes to hear the sounds of her parents fighting yet again, and their struggling marriage. So she turns on the radio as loud as she can and starts primping and preparing herself and putting on the mask and facade that she needs to win the approval of cheerleaders, basketball stars, teachers, and everyone else. Willow goes to school as well and goes to the library to drop off the notes for Buffy. She instead sees Giles and Jenny Calendar, who she is very close with both of them, being both a whiz at school and homework and studying, as well as computer science and the like. However, these two pseudo-mentors of her are too busy investigating something, and so they do not have time for Willow. So Willow drops off some of her notes, but as she is leaving, sees a new book that she's never seen in the library, one possibly from Giles' own collections, the Journal of the Watchers. She considers this, it looks interesting. She picks it up and gets so engrossed in flipping through this pages, she doesn't realize the bell goes off and she's going to be late for class. So she runs out forgetting to check it out or tell Giles that she has taken it. Buffy comes in sometime later in the day looking for the notes, but as Giles and Jenny knew nothing of Willow dropping it off, or they did not pay attention, and they are still consumed in their studies, Buffy is frustrated that she can't get what she needs. Xander, however, shows up and, anxious to please, says that, hey, he will bring Willow to the Bronze tonight and they could all hang out and they could work on the project and he could help her get past her studying. As much as she does not want to go to the Bronze with Willow or Xander, it's that or flunk. So that night she goes to the Bronze and she goes to hang out with her friends, with Cordelia, with Harmony, and with Amy. Amy of which is surprisingly getting hit on by some tall, dark, and handsome foreign guy named Amlin. Before Buffy could go in and try to elbow her way into that and see if she could get in with this new Amlin character, she is met by another tall, dark, and handsome foreigner, an Irish guy named Angel. And as they talk and visit, she is very much impressed by him, handsome as can be, and has the greatest Irish accent. But Angel splits as soon as he sees the other foreigner, Hamlin. Back at the school, nearly exhausted, Jenny and Giles don't see anything that could have caused the Hellmouth to stir, but the test of aura that Jenny did early that morning clearly shows that it has changed and is now no longer slumbering, not open, but is somehow awakened, and they do not know how this could be. Angel walks in and presumes to tell them that it probably has something to do with Amlin, who is back in town, and he has tracked Amlin back to the building across the street, and that they should check it out. Opening a secret case with crucifixes, spikes, and other weapons, they arm themselves and head across the street, hoping to find out what happens. Meanwhile, running late to their rendezvous at the Bronze, Xander is nagging Willow to please hurry up and finish so that they can get to the Bronze and help Buffy. But Willow forgot to turn in her book, or at least tell Giles that she took it, and she feels guilty, so she'll do that first and then they'll go to help Buffy. Not that she's too keen on helping Buffy, but just for her friend's sake, she will. As they are walking into the school, they see Jenny and Giles, along with this mysterious other man, carrying gear that they can't really make out but doesn't look like usual librarian gear, and heading to the building across the street. Curious, so they go to follow to catch up with them. They go in and follow them down a secret tunnel that they have discovered underground. Xander's getting excited, Willow is getting nervous, and as they come forward, they stumble and make a noise, giving away Jenny and Angel and Giles. Vampires come after them, and they barely escape, Jenny casting a protection spell, blocking the forces as they run out, hop in a car, and drive away. At Giles' place, they have to explain to Willow and Xander what's going on, as it's not something that they could clearly sweep under the rug. They explain, and Willow is able to catch up with much of it, because in this one day she's already read several sections of the Watcher's Journal, which she sheepishly returns. They explain that 100 years before, the master vampire Drusilla and her minions Spike, Darla, Lothos, and the ancestor of Mayor Richard Wookins III, the first, attempted to open the Hellmouth. It would have invaded the world with the forces of darkness. However, the last Slayer, Kendra, alongside with the Watchers, their coven of light witches, stopped Drusilla and trapped her in that dimension. The Slayer sealed the opening of the portal with her life, but that also ended the resurrection cycle of the Slayers. It was in the wake of this that the Watchers buried the site. Later, the town was commissioned on top by Richard Wookins I, and the school later was built on the Hellmouth Willow and Xander are amazed, and they're warned to keep quiet, because if the vampires know, they will come after them. They need to figure out how the Hellmouth has awoken and how to put it back to slumber. Willow shows that she's sharp, that she's picked up many things from the Watcher's Guide, and she wants to help, and they accept her aid. Reluctantly, they accept Xander joining along. Amy doesn't show up at school the next day, causing Buffy, Cordelia, Harmony, and the others to complain about her at practice. But later on, when Buffy leaves practice, the evening having already started, she senses something's not right as she waits for Harmony to come out of the locker. She starts hearing voices and remembering the dream that she had from the night before. But before anything can happen, the Irish guy, Angel, interrupts her. He admits to being on some sort of an exchange program. She very much digs his accent and his looks and his whole demeanor. She is into this guy. She mentions casually Amlin, the other exchange student she saw with Amy the day before. Angel darkens, saying that he thinks Amlin is no good and suggests that they stay away from him. As she's on her way home with Harmony, she's thinking about her parents' drama, trying to delay the way, talking about both Angel and Amy and everything else because she doesn't want to go home to the divorce discussion, the messy breakdown of her parents' marriage. They are interrupted by Amlin and another vampire. Amlin attacks Harmony and takes her away, while the other vampire attacks Buffy. She responds in an instinctual way, fighting back in ways that surprise even her. She's never been in a fight before. But before she could be in too much danger, Giles and Angel show up and save her. Angel goes after Harmony while Giles takes her away to his place where it'll be safe. Buffy is not too certain about this, but she is excited to get away from the criminals and the danger. She asks about Angel and what's going on. He tells her that Angel is an agent with a secret government agency and that she can't talk about it, otherwise she'll be in danger with the criminals. Angel will take care of getting Harmony back. At Giles's place, Willow studying with Jenny, trying to find out more about the Hellmouth, and Xander's keeping them company, keeping the Scooby Gang company, as he's starting to call it. He's mostly just asking a number of questions. Willow learns about Jenny's abilities as a witch and asks if that's something that anyone could learn, curious for herself. Jenny walks her through a very basic spell, and she ends up doing much better than expected. But that's when Giles shows up with a shaken Buffy, much to Willow's dismay and Xander's delight. Buffy is asking questions. Giles continues the line about the government agency. Xander is slow on the pickup and mentions vampires before falling in line and catching up. Buffy is suspicious, but ready to be away from all of this group. Giles assures her that Angel will do all that he can. Jenny offers to take Buffy home, and Xander volunteers to go with her, for protection, of course. Willow is perturbed to have Buffy involved, as she is not too keen on the girl. The next day, Buffy is quite distracted at school and keeps watch on Willow and Xander, wanting to ask them more, but also not wanting to approach. Finally, when she does approach, she gets caught by Cordelia, and Cordelia senses weakness, starts making a play to be the alpha in the gang, particularly with Amy and Harmony. Buffy's biggest supporter is gone. With the evening approaching, Giles is preparing to go out to his car, where he'll take a turn to stake out, watching the building with the Hellmouth tunnel. Willow is there, along with Jenny and Xander, asking questions about the Slayer and the Watcher's journals. Giles explains, as he had before, that they are no more. Angel shows up and says that the Slayer line might have been restarted. He reports that he was unable to save the girl Harmony, but also that Buffy responded with Slayer-like instincts. Willow is doubtful, and Angel asks about her. Everything Willow relates about this girl confirms that she shouldn't have been able to do what she did. Giles is interested in meeting her again. Buffy, who has been eavesdropping on the conversation, is detected but runs away first. She heads home and is almost home when she is met by Amy. Buffy's relieved to see her and starts talking about the hot Irish guy, Angel, that they met at the Bronze, and asks about Amlin. Amy starts talking about Amlin and leads her on a side street when she turns into a vampire to bite her. Buffy screams and there's a tussle, but she has those same instincts kick in again. Something in her knows that she needs to grab a bit of fence which has been broken off in the struggle, and she stabs Amy with it, dusting her just as Angel arrives, who had followed her from far behind. This encounter allows her to find something inside of herself that she never had before: power and control. Back in the school library, Buffy learns of her destiny and instantly rejects it, although she wants to know how she can protect herself. She's also still very much interested in getting Angel's attention, but Angel is annoyed by her attitude and everything about her. He thinks she's a vapid teenage girl. Xander tries to get her on board with the Scooby Gang, but she's having none of it. Willow doesn't want her as part of things and tries to push the idea of her going home as well. But Buffy knows it's not very safe out there anymore. Jenny, Giles, and mostly Angel insist that she should start to learn how to use her instincts, if for nothing else, than to keep her safe. Lothos and Wilkins get a report from Amblin about finding the Slayer. He relates when he attacked Harmony the night before and says this other girl might potentially be the Slayer. They realize that one of their new Coven members, Amy, has not returned, and they will start looking in the area where she went, thinking that maybe the Slayer is in that location. Lothos thinks it might have something to do with Angel as to why the new vampire hasn't returned. They talk very upset about Angel. They have personal beef against him. They again turn to Doyle, the Oracle, and ask what he sees. He still sees that the Slayer is the only one to open the Hellmouth, and that it is something that can happen. And that is part 1 of the Slayer of Sunnydale. We'll have another video here shortly that explains the second part of it, but tell us what you think. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe.